Transfer portal's on fire. I have said that to lead every transfer portal portion of the show that we've done over the past month. That's because it is. Caleb Williams, as of this moment, is still out there. He's still floating around in the portal. What's it like in the portal? Only a very select few of us will ever know. I just want to reemphasize what we said the other night, and then I want to further emphasize it with something from Chris Hummer today. While USC has and still continues to be viewed the leader in the clubhouse here, this is not a formality. He is not a lock to USC. With that in mind, I would encourage you to go to 247sports.com and check out the latest from Chris Hummer today. He gave you a very comprehensive update about Caleb Williams, about Jackson Dart. And here's what we do know. And I want to stick to what we know now because I think it's become pretty obvious there is very, very little new information coming out of this camp. They have closed things off and staffs aren't talking. They have no motivation to talk. Hummer's done a lot of digging on this, and I credit him, and it's a really, really comprehensive feature there on 247sports.com. Here's what we do know. Caleb Williams, five-star quarterback, number one player in the portal. He has visited USC. He has visited UCLA. Oklahoma, if you're watching on YouTube, you see the logo there, and you may think to yourself, why would you include Oklahoma? Isn't he leaving there? Oklahoma, just because he was the quarterback there and he entered the transfer portal, doesn't mean they're out of it. He could just as easily do what it looks like Jalen Moody from Alabama has done. You go in the portal, you don't like how it smells in here, you exit the portal. You go right back to your dorm room. He could do that. Hummer in his feature today stressed that Oklahoma's not out of this. Now, Oklahoma's got Dylan Gabriel there, and they're also trying to get Jackson Dart, who we'll talk about more in just a second. So, it's you shop, we shop. And the high likelihood is that Caleb Williams will be somewhere other than Norman, but they haven't given up hope there. Now, there's a date that may or may not mean a whole lot, and that's January 28th. So that is 8 days away from when we're doing the show live tonight. Why is 1/28 so important? Well, I know that some of you have been told otherwise, but as of now, these are still students, and that means those pesky drop ad dates for classes, when does a semester start and all that sort of stuff, it still matters. And so at USC, they are on the semester system, and the drop ad date is January 28th. Now, there is some thinking that if Caleb Williams is going to choose USC, maybe he wants to have it out of the way by then. Across town at UCLA, they're on the quarter system. More and more, you're realizing the programs on the quarter system have given themselves a giant advantage when it comes to the transfer portal for obvious reasons here. You can wait a lot later there. But there's this other camp, and Hummer made sure to mention this today, that says it doesn't matter at any point. I mean, don't kid yourself. On February 3rd, if Caleb Williams wakes up and says, I think I've made a mistake, I want to be at USC, they're going to find a way to get him to USC. Now, what about Jackson Dart? So Jackson Dart was at USC, and technically kind of still is until he finds a new home. He's in the transfer portal too. Any minute, this could pop. Any minute. But what's popping? We don't know what's in the egg. It's like when the gobbledygooker debuted at Survivor Series 92, I think. So lame. But they just had a giant egg there, and they advertised it, and you didn't know what was going to come out of the egg. Well, we know it's Jackson Dart. He's already hatched from his egg. We don't know where he's landing. What do we know? Well, what we know is he has already visited Oklahoma. He has visited Ole Miss. He was rumored and even reported to be on campus at Brigham Young, known by some as the acronym, but I can't pronounce the Y. That's been established on this show, so I just say Brigham Young University. And that was yesterday. That was as recently as yesterday. So we've got Oklahoma, we got Ole Miss, we got potentially Brigham Young there. And he's from Utah, so it makes sense if you're trying to figure out what is one doesn't look like the other there. There's a reason they're there. I'm still leaning Ole Miss here, and that's because I feel like Ole Miss is the best fit. I know they feel good. Hummer talked about it too. Ole Miss feels good. You don't often talk to folks this late in the game who say we don't feel particularly great, but Ole Miss does feel good about their chances. And here's really what it comes down to. Matt Corral's on his way out. So if you just view this from 50,000 feet, it feels like Jackson Dart has an immediate opportunity to walk in and start for Lane Kiffin. That's what it feels like. Whereas at Oklahoma, they've brought in Dylan Gabriel. But here's another important note that was in this feature today. Oklahoma's entire angle in trying to attract Jackson Dart has been selling competition. And they've sold the ability to come in and compete with Dylan Gabriel, who was the transfer from UCF. And the part A there is maybe you just beat him out and you win. The part B is they're trying to sell him on, even if you don't win the job, You come in, he starts 1 year, and then you're right there, and you're in prime position. You should be in no hurry. You got plenty of time. I don't know how effective that's going to be. It sounds like they've done as good a job as they can of using that approach to try and attract him. But I do want to emphasize, Brigham Young seems like a real threat here too. So those are three, and I mean, it literally would not shock me if by the time we went off the air tonight, we knew something. Because no one really knows what the hang-up ever is. So, I mean, it could be something as simple as he's trying to make a graphic, or he's trying to get a video shot. Who knows? So we're on their clock right now. Now, as of a couple of days ago, we've got all kinds of portaling, which is a verb now. A lot of portaling out of Athens, Georgia. JT Daniels, quarterback, transfer portal. That was somewhat expected. I don't think we've seen the last quarterback transfer out of Athens or portal. What was not nearly as expected, what took a lot of people by surprise, was wide receiver Jermaine Burton also entering the transfer portal. That one raised some eyebrows. And so that's a guy who it looked for all the world like he was going to be an integral part of the passing game this year. He was injured, and he didn't really put up big numbers. Brock Bowers was the main passing threat there. George Pickens came back later in the year. Well, Jermaine Burton has entered the transfer portal. He did it the same day that Stetson Bennett announced he was coming back, which was also the same day that JT Daniels announced. It was like someone had the pause button hit, and then they walked back in, and they pressed play, and everybody announced their intentions for the upcoming season. So that was a little unexpected. Jermaine Burton can be a big player. He could be a big player at Georgia. I think he's going to be a very, very key piece of someone's offense wherever he goes. Alabama's in this. Alabama was very much in the Kayshon Boutte picture. And for some reasons behind the scenes, that kind of went quiet. And who knows if that ever cranks back up again. If it does, I can assure you it would be after spring. But I think Alabama's in the market for one more receiver. That's my personal feel. Whether it's Jermaine Burton or not remains to be seen. As you can see, guys are still entering the portal. So we'll see about that. But you're hearing a lot of Alabama behind the scenes. LSU is there. A&M's there. Maryland is there. I think he's close to Baby Tua. Taulia Tagovailoa, in other words. So I don't know how figured out that picture is yet. Again, you never know to what degree a guy is in a hurry. And you also have to check with the academic situation at each university. But keep an eye on that one. Jermaine Burton. And then at Georgia, let's keep an eye on that quarterback situation probably after spring practice. Maybe before, but I would probably expect, and a lot of people around the program expect that after spring, you may see some more movement there. There was another move today that I don't want to gloss over. Jarek Bernard-Converse, who is you may not know his name, but you've probably watched him play. He is a first-team All-Big 12 defensive back out of Oklahoma State, and he entered his name into the portal today. He's a 4-year starter, started a ton of games, he's played a ton of ball. That's going to be a very, very highly sought-after corner defensive back guy. So we don't have a ton of information on him right now, but he's the real deal and would translate his skills very favorably to pretty much any defense in the country. I would expect a whole lot of big names to come after him. Look, there's some stuff on the up and up happening out there. There's some shady stuff happening out there. I was told today, I will not mention any names, but I was told today about a high-profile player from the G5 level who has heard from a vast majority of teams in a conference. And you may say, well, isn't that tampering if he's not in the portal? And I would say to you, yeah, it's pretty much what they call that. That is tampering. But yet it's happening, kids. It's a dirty world out there. You really, really got to button your shirt up tight before you head out the door right now in the portal. Because sometimes you don't have to be in the portal to pretend like you're in the portal and people treat you like you're in the portal. That's where we are right now. It is a very confusing time, a very hazy time. But when this happens, the title of the show tonight was kind of ticking time bombs. When Harbaugh happens, it's going to be a big, big deal if it does go down. When Caleb Williams announces wherever he's going, especially if it's not USC, it would be a mega deal. Either way, it's a huge deal. Jackson Dart, whenever he announces, that's going to be a big deal. And as you can tell, it's kind of a lot of nervous energy around the show because we're just waiting. We're just waiting.